I'm kidding. Chill.
Hey, listen. To be fair, I gave him the option, so
Mistakes were made.
it's all right. Nah, we roll with it, dude. I got to do Mike like 2 days ago, so I'm like, let's go.
You gotta have the personalities of MPC show.
Oh,
yeah,
I
exactly.
was muted. You know what? I'll stay on for this episode. Why not? I don't have any.
Yes.
Let's go. That's what I like to hear.
Hello, everyone. Hi, chat. First, congrats. Pat you on the back. Pat yourself on the back. COVID. You don't want to be touching people.
True. Socially distant, virtual high five.
Hi.
All right. Let's introduce ourselves first.
Oh yeah.
While everyone's getting in here.
That's probably.
As always, these episodes will be on Spotify. I'll upload them like kind of soon after. Depends how lazy I am. So obviously I'm Viper. I'm a co-owner for the league. And that's basically about it. I run this crazy show with Octo. So
Hi, I'm Octo. I also run this crazy S show with Viper and the rest of staff. Yeah, we're here joined by our two guests. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Go ahead, Walrus. Take the show.
there you go.
My name's Walrus. I'm the captain for New York Thunder. What's up?
Nice. Okay, Bootstrap.
And I'm Bootstrap. I'm the now manager of the Seattle Orbit and ex-player and professional mediator of the craziness called keeping a team together.
True. So before we actually start, I have a few housekeeping announcements. After the episode, I'll make sure that this is like an in-text announcement, but I just want to talk about it now. So we're going to be addressing 4 major things. So I'll try to get through these quick because, like I said, I'll put these all in text form after the show. So the first one is we're no longer going to be updating salaries throughout the season. In theory, this was like a really positive idea that encouraged players to grow, but we found in practice that it had a lot of larger consequences that we didn't see coming. So we're hoping that this will increase consistency throughout the rest of the season and promote less volatile teams within the league. Secondly, this has to do with FAs. So if you're thinking about becoming a free agent in the league, this is for you. Obviously, as we know, free-to-play launched, I believe it was Wednesday, right?
Yeah,
I think it was Wednesday.
It was yesterday as of recording, so Wednesday.
Yeah. So, and also today, Rocket League officially hit 1 million concurrent players. So congratulations, Rocket League. Hats off to you guys. However, as we know, this is going to be creating a lot of quote-unquote new players and a lot of smurfing. So how are we combating that? We're going to be closing the FA sign-up window after the end of Week 8. And all of the new pickups and signings will stop at the end of Week 8 as well. And this is to allow them to get their 4 games minimum in for the final playoff. Trades, however, between teams will be allowed to happen until Week 10. So if you are becoming an FA, you have to have at least Season 14 on your tracker, or else we're not going to accept you. Just because this is probably the easiest way we can prevent smurfing, especially this late into the league. So there's that. And then 3, all and any rosters will be locked after the conclusion of Week 10. Unless an act of God happens. I'm sorry, but if your team implodes, that's not our fault. That's all I can really say on that one. For the mid-season tournament, all the info for participating teams, which we'll have a better idea after this week's games. It's all in the master sheet and in the rules. But for the teams who don't end up making it, so teams 9 through 12, we're going to allow you guys to start signing players and trading or dropping whatever you want to do after this week's games. So the last game on Sunday, after that game is done, you will be allowed to start picking up players and stuff like that. However, any team participating in the tournament cannot pick up, drop, or trade any players during this time. So basically, from the end of Sunday's games until the end of the tournament, you cannot change your team in any way. You can pick up a coach or something like that if you really want to, but besides that, we're not allowing any other changes. Ringers for the midseason tournament aren't going to be allowed, barring like a crazy situation, because like I said, we really don't want to have ringers playing in the midseason tournament, because this is supposed to be when you're showing your best roster. So like I said, thanks for listening to me ramble, and we'll put it in all text form of this announcement in league announcements once the episode is done. Okay, I'm done talking.
The first thing I want to bring up is, I mean, like, Toronto beat Miami, you know? no more chance of the flawless season for anybody.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know if anyone watched that game, but that was I went back and watched it, and that was a crazy. Honestly, looking back at this week, we had a lot of crazy matches.
I would say.
Yeah, especially your match Bootstrap. I'll definitely want to talk to you about that one in a bit because we'll kind of go through these. But like Octo said, the biggest thing, we have no more undefeated teams in MPC, which is crazy. I think especially this early, I think it's crazy that we don't have any more undefeated teams. I think that just goes to show how close a lot of these teams are now, and like how a lot of these games can go either way.
I
So,
agree with that
yeah.
for sure.
What about you, Walrus? What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good talk. Good talk.
Nice. All right.
I feel like
No, but
there was a potential for some of these teams to probably go a little deeper into the season undefeated, but I
Mhm.
feel like just kind of luck of the draw how the season worked out. We had a lot of the powerhouses going straight into one another right off the bat, which automatically ended a few of the teams' runs.
Yep.
I mean, you look at Thrasher's Ice, that's literally the top two teams in the league at the moment, and they've already played one another before mid-season. And if that game doesn't happen till week 8, week 9, I mean, you may see a totally different outcome and see somebody go a little further. But I think it's nice that that is how it has worked out, because it gives some of these teams who are sitting around the middle of the pack, or even the lower end for that matter, it kind of gives them a little bit of hope going into mid-season that there may still be a little something worth fighting for and worth playing for, seeing that even some of these top teams can be beaten.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what's going to be doubly interesting about the midseason tournament is that we're going to get to see a lot of these like quote unquote top teams so far like play against each other, possibly for a second time, depending on how the bracket goes. But let's talk about last week's games. So, Walrus, I'll start with you, I guess. Your match versus the Halos was certainly an interesting one. So obviously, like it was pretty unfortunate that Banter had to leave. That was just a really weird situation all around, as I'm sure you guys remember. But kind of walk us through that match, especially let's talk about like at least the first half of the series. So
whoa. The first two matches, I streamed it, so a lot of people saw where we were up with them, but they just kept getting those touches that were just going over us, and we just weren't consistent, and we didn't have the chemistry like the Halos had. But over time, throughout the games, we built up our chemistry. Kuko and Skoto started to pass a little more, as they are both GCs. They were quicker than the Halos players, except for Banter, of course. And then I was just trying to be like a backbone to the team as I let them try and get goals and stuff. And we really picked it up.
Yeah, I think for sure, like we saw a totally different team out of you guys, especially in the last half of that series. So obviously, like like they told you, hats off to that win. That was a huge win for you guys because that is definitely a very good win that puts you guys up in the standings and possibly will let you actually play in for the tournament. So let's talk about the Orbit game, Bootstrap. I don't know if you were watching that series or if you were with the guys. What was going through your mind? Because that was probably one of the best games we've had all season.
Honestly, from watching the game live on stream, I was there watching it from the first kickoff all the way through the end. And it was an extremely stressful series to watch because literally all 5 of those games come down to a couple balls going the right way or the wrong way for or against you. And that literally was the deciding factor in those games. I mean, the defense on both sides was phenomenal. I felt like that was probably one of the stronger defensive showings that we've had so far out of any team in the league so far this season, as a series as a whole between both teams. And I just felt like really all 5 games were just very solid matches. I mean, there were mistakes made in there, don't get me wrong, but the mistakes were recovered from, and there were plays made that made up for it. And I was sitting there thinking, when I come out of it, I was talking to my guys, and I was like, man, y'all put on a heck of a game considering we picked up Chip 2 hours ago. I said I was really impressed with how y'all played, and all 3 of them come out of that match talking about how bad they had played, and they felt like the entire series was just a S show, and just thought that it was just this horrible viewing of whiff here, whiff there, bad touch here. I was like, boys, I was like, that's not what it looked like. I
Yeah.
said, when you were watching it from this side of it, where you were just truly watching the game, I said, that's not what it looked like. I said, yeah, there were some missed touches. I said, but it was overall, I said, it was a very solid outing from both sides. And so we were stoked that we were able to pick Chip up and pick up a win with him right there. I knew it was going to be kind of a toss up because of how little time we had practicing with Chip going into that game. But luckily for us, everything kind of worked out as good as you could hope for him, and we were able to come away with the win on it.
Yeah, for sure. I remember. I think 3 of these games actually went to overtime because me and Joe Razor were casting these, and someone actually made the comment that like one of the overtimes. I think one of the overtimes went like 4.5 minutes. It was insane.
Yeah.
They were saying that we were casting it like it was the Dignitas Vitality Game 6 at Madrid.
I was screaming at my computer screen like it was game 6 or 7 of the fucking other show too. I mean, it was
Yeah.
crazy.
It was insane.
It was a very high intensity match all the way through.
Like we said, every game but game 5 was decided by a single goal. So, you know, like we've said before, like that was definitely match of the week for me, but there were a lot of crazy games. Especially like we kind of talked about the Thrashers Ice game. Like that game was insane. I think Rebel definitely popped off that series, well-deserved MVP.
Yeah.
And Atlas's, I believe, last game with the team. We're not exactly sure what he's doing quite yet. So I believe he might have signed with some org or something like that.
Well,
So
being his blood brother, I kind of have the scoop on that if it is wanted.
this is the place to do it.
Yeah,
So
man, why not? Let us in, give us the juice.
So what happened with Atlas was he originally was on an IGL team, but the team broke up because they didn't want to be moved into the S tier, as they were told before the season was going to start that they were going to have to move up a tier, and the coach of their team said that they weren't ready. So Atlas found MPC, which is actually how I found it, and he brought me in here. Well, one of the guys that was on that IGL team had started looking for another team to play for and called Atlas up at the beginning of last week. And he's like, hey, I finally found an org. And he said, I think I can get you a tryout. Well, Atlas went and tried out for him. And he's in there. I think he said there was like a 2100 MMR player. And then there was like a 16 or 1800. I forget what he said. And so he was playing with some really good competition, and luckily the way he played, something about how he plays, the coach liked it and said he had a lot of potential, so he ended up choosing Atlas. And so by definition, this is a pro team that he has made, because they're paying for all of their travel expenses, they're paying for all the entry fees into any tournaments that they play. They're paying for housing and stuff while they're at some of these tournaments and stuff. And it's a new team. So a lot of people say, oh, it's not pro, we haven't heard of it. But it's because this is literally going to be their first year as a Rocket League professional team. And so nobody would hear them yet. So a little scoop on what made it kind of cool and kind of real for Atlas is their first practice that they did as a team. The coach that coached Fireburner his first year in RLCS actually come in and ran their first practice. And so Atlas was practicing for like 3 hours with these guys. And he come out of practice and I asked him how it went. He said, dude, we played 3 games. He said, we broke down video footage for like 3.5 hours on 3 games. He said, and it was insane how much you can learn from somebody who really knows how stuff works. And so he's really excited about it. And I mean, I think it kind of fell into one of those situations where you kind of got to shoot your shot. If you've got an opportunity to do something, you've got to take it. And so he decided that it was going to be the best decision for himself to kind of take a step back from MPC and kind of pursue this opportunity that he's kind of been chasing for several years on multiple games and try to pursue a pro scene. So
nice.
I was kind of excited for him and hoping he can do something with it. So we'll see kind of moving forward how that goes for him.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's awesome to hear, and hats off to him for sure.
Yeah, honestly, kind of respect it.
Yeah, he definitely popped off in the games that he did play for us here in MPC.
And
So
he's been a consistent performer, like Viper brought up. You know, he's been showing up pretty high in the stats and stuff. Like he's been not top goal scorer, but like up there in contention for sure. You know, he's not a guy that slacks. I feel like he's definitely a hard worker.
Right. And to me, the thing that he has that goes for him sometimes is just his play style because it's very unpredictable. He never seems to make the touch you would expect to be made, and I've told him that for seasons. I mean, there's just something about the way he plays is different, and it's hard to read it. And when you can have a play style like that, if you can get good at the little stuff, it makes it extremely hard to play against you.
For sure. All right, definitely hats off to him, like I said. But let's go ahead and move on a little bit. I think we can wrap up talking about Week 5 because the Aces Blazes game, I spectated that. It wasn't really anything too crazy. T-Man didn't play, so they weren't fielding their strongest roster. So a 3-0 kind of is what I expect going into it, and it's kind of what delivered here. And then, like, we kind of talked about have we talked about the Sharks Boston game? I don't think we have.
No, not really.
No.
I forgot if this game was who streamed this game
I
or
did.
if we did.
I streamed it.
Okay.
I also casted it, and from what I remember, it was mostly just like the Vessels show. Like, the Sharks made some new signings recently. They picked up Vessels and I believe Treasy, and they put on a clinic. They played pretty well, and Boston just looked off guard, and Sharks just took advantage of that. I feel like there's not really much else to say.
All right. Walrus, I know you probably have to go soon, so do you want to say any parting words before you head out?
I love you, Twitch chat. Boom. And
There you go.
The game I'm looking forward to the most next week is Vipers versus Toronto, because I feel like that game's gonna be super intense with Toronto's chemistry and Vipers just raw talent, you know, with their GCs. And I'm really looking forward to that game. That's all I want to say. See you, boys.
All right. Thanks for coming on, even though it was for such a short time. Oh yeah, because for those of you that don't know, Walrus is on the New York Thunder. They literally have a game in like 10 minutes.
See you, boys.
All right,
Aces
later,
Thunder
man.
Tonight.
See you, boys and girls.
Aces Thunder, yeah.
There you go.
If you want to stream it, you can drop it in self promo. If you guys want to watch that game, keep an eye out.
Okay, real question though. What do we think that scoreline's gonna be
for New York and Aces?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be 3-0 Thunder. I think Aces are lucky if they take a game.
Wow.
I'd say 3-1.
I'd say 3-1 as well. I say Aces
I think I'm gonna have to go with 3-1 too, because I feel like Thunder have performed extremely well every week, but they always kind of get off to a rocky start. And I think Aces probably come out and steal a couple goals early in the first game and ride that out to a win, and then Thunder probably takes the next three fairly easily once they get warmed up and
settle in.
Yeah.
First game's always a
thinking.
Game. Warm up to your opponents. That's usually how it goes.
Hi, Blue. How are you doing?
How
Want to go ahead
doing?
and introduce yourself to everybody? He's filling in for a Walrus, seeing as a
If
Walrus.
you guys don't know me yet, then you guys have been living under a rock, obviously. But I am the player of. I cannot speak right now.
Good job. Read the script, Blue.
We understand.
I can't read the script, dude. This accent of mine does not let me. It doesn't let me speak high intelligence words, apparently.
But yes, Blue, player representative, done a lot for this server, seriously. All of our staff have just done insane amounts of, they've contributed so much, and we literally would not be anywhere close to where we are without them. So I always gush over my staff because they've done a lot for us. Like we said, Blue is replacing Walrus for the rest of the show. So for those of you listening, if you randomly hear changes and new people, that's why. And let me just say something real quick. Shout out to Element right now. He's hosting the Thunder's Aces lobby right now for us. So he came in super clutch because we had to reschedule this because of some last minute stuff we had to move around. And Element is coming up super clutch for us right now and hosting that lobby. So hats off to him. Also another person that does a lot for this server. All right, no more dilly-dallying. We're going to talk mid-season tournament because we know a lot of people probably have questions. So should we just do an overview of how exactly it's going to work first, Octo?
I don't see why not. Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I can pull up the bracket here. Give me just a sec. Let me make this full screen real quick. All right, so here's your bracket for those of you that have not seen it. We will be seeding the top 8 teams from the from going off of the standings. So unfortunately, the bottom 4 teams will not qualify. This gives them like a bye week essentially, where they can just like cool off and sort themselves out for the last half of the season. And it goes 1st seed versus 8th seed, 4th seed versus 5th seed, 2nd seed versus 7th seed, and 3rd seed versus 6th seed, and then they just play out this whole bracket and see who the winner is.
Pretty standard stuff. I'm in the process of making like a prediction bracket for this as well, since there's not like a weekly prediction for this. I'll make something on like challenge.gg or something, and I'll send it to all of you guys, and I'll give a prediction oracle for that as well. Since we don't technically know who exactly might make it, because Octo actually somehow, I don't know how you had the brain power to do this, but we actually tried to do some scenarios for certain teams.
Yeah, well, we couldn't. We wouldn't have been able to do all of it. We would have needed like some outside script or program, and I just couldn't find it in time. But essentially, what you guys want to know heading into the midseason tournament, like I'm looking at like the players and stuff right now. Essentially, getting 4 wins on your record is gonna like secure you a spot in playoffs, and if you get 4 losses, it sort of guarantees you're not gonna be able to make it in, but there's still a chance.
Yeah.
And if
you'd have to have a lot of things go your way.
Yes, exactly. And if you're 3-3, there's a very high chance you'll be able to stay in, but it is not guaranteed. So I'm looking at these 3-2 teams. Like, you guys got to try and pick up that 4th win, or I don't know everything is gonna be up in the air.
Yeah, you got to use some brain of yours.
Yeah, I can pull up this other tab I kind of threw together. It's very, very, very scuffed, and I wasn't gonna show it on overtime, but I figured I might as well now.
You got to now, yeah.
I leaked some predictions, but
we can narrate it for those that will be listening to this episode. So as you can see now, anyone watching on Twitch, you can see that it's live on the screen. So like we alluded to earlier, Toronto and Miami are the only teams that are 100% qualified, and the Hunters are the only team that are 100% not going to make it. Every other team has a chance to not be in the midseason, I believe, because I think even the Halos could get knocked out.
Yeah, I think so. I know the only team that currently has not qualified for the midseason tournament is the Hunters. They have 5 losses, and there's no way, even if they 3-0 the Halos this upcoming week, there's no way they're going to be able to play in for this midseason tournament. So any word of advice for the Hunters, just focus on the rest of the season, and you guys can still make a dream run in the playoffs bracket at the end of the season.
True.
I would. If I was him, I would focus on chemistry and the comms and everything like that, making sure to clean up everything that you guys feel that you are lacking. When it comes down to any type of team play, your best friend is communication.
Yeah.
And it's not all about like who's the fastest, who could hit the ball the hardest. Believe me, I tried that in GC. It does not work. But communications is key when you go here. Don't play too fast, but don't play too slow. Play at a pace that you're comfortable with, and that you feel that is beneficial to you and your team. And be the best position you can be. If you're a better third man, by all means, just try your best out there.
Yeah,
True.
Adding on to this Hunters talk, like they've been like rebuilt and destroyed and rebuilt again like 20 times this season already. Like going into like the second half of the season, you guys are gonna be a completely new team. So don't think of it as you guys being like they're winless right now. Don't think of
don't think we're telling you guys suck or anything.
Because look, you guys can come in with a completely new roster and become like the top dogs in the league. Like we don't know.
Honestly, with the Hunters here, I would just take the off week and just take time to seriously stop and think about what direction you want to head, and then just use the back half of the season kind of as a proving point to show that, hey, look, we're not out of it. I mean, you got to be good enough to make nationals. If you make nationals, it's anybody's game from there. I mean,
that's
it
true.
Don't take
Exactly.
a couple losses and you're out. I mean, it's anybody's game. You just got to get there. So, I mean, Hunters, this season's not over.
Yeah,
They
and
did,
like,
they did big mid-season tournament, big whoop. That one's not for all the marbles anyway. I mean, you put together a strong back half of the season, and all of a sudden you make a run in the final bracket and show that it was just because of a rocky start.
it's true, and I mean everyone does get a shot at nationals, so it's not like even if they went winless hypothetically, right? Everyone still gets a shot. Your road is going to be a little tougher if you're finishing near the bottom. Obviously, that's just how natural seeding works. But
Right.
by no means that you are just out of the tournament. Like we saw last year, some crazy stuff can happen. Like teams can just straight up not show up, like physically and metaphorically. So like we said, anything can happen in nationals. But there are some incentives for this midseason tournament. Believe it or not, there are actually things to play for, and that thing is wins. So it's in our rulebook, but essentially any win after, like any series win after your first win in the tournament will be added to your record. I think that's a good way to describe it, right, Octo?
I think it's any win you get in the midseason tournament is going to count towards your record. So
I think.
Let's say right now, theoretically, Toronto and Dallas play it out.
We'll talk.
And
I didn't realize he might have stuff going on. So
actually, no,
I'll try to explain it.
That's
so,
my bad. I was
you're good.
I was unmuted on stream, so I was talking.
I was afraid I
muted in
disconnected. I was afraid I disconnected.
Yeah. Sorry for the mix up there, but essentially, what I was saying in stream was hearing me is say that this theoretical is that I think you get wins for every win you get. So even if you get a win in the quarters here, it's still gonna count towards your record. But
oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Essentially, let's say looking right now at the standings, let's say here Toronto has 4 wins, 1 loss, and say they beat Dallas and then go on to win the entire thing. That'd be 3 wins because they would get a win here, get a win here, and get a win there. That would be 3 wins overall, and that would be added to their record. So that would be 4, 5, 6, 7 wins overall. So they'd be 7-1 after midseason. So it's a good advantage essentially, is what that gives you.
It's a huge advantage, and the best part is, even if you lose first round, that's not a loss added to your record. So literally, there is only benefits. There's only good things to be gained from this tournament by participating. So that's the biggest thing we wanted to hammer home. So yeah, we kind of talked about everything midseason tournament, I believe. So it'll be easier for us to do predictions next week once all the standings are done and stuff like that. So I guess the thing we can do now is move on to week number 6 and our predictions.
We'll probably give the winners of the mid-season tournament a little tag on their Discord too.
Yeah, we can give them something for sure. All right, yeah. So let's move on to week 6. Walrus put his predictions in here as well, and Blue will give you a chance to talk about your predictions as well. So week 6 we have Blaze versus Orbit, Hunters versus Halos, Ice versus Vipers, Revolt versus Thrashers, Deadeyes versus Sharks, and Thunder versus Aces, which is probably happening as we are talking. So, we all said that the game was probably going to be 3-1, and the predictions don't lie. We all put 3-1. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that series. Hopefully we'll get it updated as soon as Element's done spectating that game. So I guess we can go in order. I'll just, obviously you guys on screen can see you guys can see Walrus's
great minds think alike.
Yeah, you guys can see Walrus's predictions. He put Orbit winning 3-1, then Halos winning 3-0, Ice winning 3-2, Thrashers winning 3-1, Deadeyes winning 3-2, and Thunder winning 3-1. So I guess we can go left to right, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
That works. Yeah.
All right, so I'll start with mine. So Blaze, Orbit, I think this is going to be a really close game. I'm sorry, Bootstrap. I do think it's going to be a close game. I legitimately think this could go either way. I could easily see Orbit taking this in 5, but I do think it's going to go the distance. I'm mostly basing mine off of how well the Blaze played, but the Aces also aren't fielding their full roster, so it might not be a true test of how good their team is. So we'll just have to wait and see.
We all going to talk about week 1, or are we all going to go all the way through?
Yeah, I'll just go through all mine real quick. Halos, Hunters, I don't even know if the Hunters are going to play, so that's the main reason why I'm putting this as the way it is. And even if they do play, I don't think the Hunters are really at a point where they can take a game off the Halos, because the Halos are looking really strong. Even though they just lost to Thunder, that was just a really weird series, and Banter had to leave. So that was just an unfortunate series for them. And I think they'll bounce back just fine. Ice Vipers, I think this potentially could be the match of the week, even though I didn't put it going to 5. I think the Vipers win this. That's pretty massive for their record. And it's a big sign of what's to come for the midseason tournament. Oh, excuse me. Revolt Thrashers. A lot of people put this game as like a 3-1 or a 3-2, but I just think the Thrashers are too hot right now. But it's going to be interesting to see how they play without Atlas. Deadeye Sharks, I think this game is going to be pretty close as well, especially seeing how well the Deadeyes played against the Orbit. They just couldn't close it out, and I don't think they can here either with how good the Sharks are looking. And then Thunder Aces, like I said, happening right now. I think the Aces are going to be lucky if they get a game, so I gave them 3-1.
Well, I gotta disagree on the Seattle Orbit Blaze.
Well, I hope you would. If you voted against your own team, I'd be a little concerned.
And I also want to point out that I really feel the love from the cast here, because nobody other than myself picked Orbit to win this game. But I feel like momentum off the past week of practice and off of last week's game and stuff, I feel like my boys are going to come out and really try to put on a show here the last week before mid-season tournament. Because I know I've heard all of them talking amongst themselves, kind of excited and ready to go, ready to get into the tournament and really get to go back and play a couple of those teams that we played early that we weren't necessarily fully prepared for and weren't our full roster that we are now. And so I think with the momentum we have right now, I think the biggest thing for us, and I do agree with you, and this game goes to 5. I think it's going to be an extremely tough matchup. However, I think if they can come out and play a more solid rotation that we've been working on this week, as well as keeping that same intensity and speed that they played with last week, I think we've got a chance at taking it in 5 and playing probably the best game we've played this season against the Blaze. And I know, no discredit to the Blaze, that's what it's going to take to beat them. So I look for that one to go 5 and hopefully end with Orbit on top 3-2. When you move down into the Halos Hunters, I gave the Hunters a game just because Halos seemed like they really kind of got disconnected. And I know it was probably 100% due to Banner leaving. I don't think the Hunters are posing a threat at the moment to take the series personally, but I think the Halos take the series pretty handily. But maybe the Hunters squeeze off one win right there at the beginning before the Halos get settled in would be the only way I see that being a 3-1. Ice Vipers, I think this is probably the game of the week. I think this goes 5. It's probably close the entire time. I look for the Vipers to kind of step up and show out this week and kind of try to make that push, because I know they're one of the teams that could really benefit from getting a win, as well as Ice could be a team that a loss could potentially make the back half of the season reachable for some people to get back up to them. So I think that's going to be probably game of the week, probably the best series that we got this week. And then you move down to Revolt Thrashers. I've got Revolt taking it 3-2. Just because I know the situation with the Thrashers and stuff, and I know it's hard to have a member of your team that was so connected to how you rotate and how you play. I know it's hard to replace that and instantly be back on the top of your game. And so I feel like it's going to be really hard for Thrashers of old to come into this week and continue to assert that dominance that they have shown so far this season against several of the opponents that they've played. I feel like we see a new Thrashers this week. I still don't think it's out of question for them to win, but I think the Revolt, being the team that they are and playing solid Rocket League and kind of being the ones that'll sit back and let you make a mistake, I feel like coming in with a new player and that hadn't played very much with you and new rotations and stuff that'll come with just having to play a new person. I feel like Revolt probably capitalizes on some mistakes this week and probably takes the series 3-2. Another one that it looks like I disagree with everybody except for Blue and Walrus. So I disagree with Viper and Octo on this one. I think Deadeyes take the Sharks in a 5-game series. I know we just come off of a week playing them, and so I probably have more respect for their play style and how well they play than I do um, than I would at other points in the season. Um, but honestly, I think the Deadeyes defense holds up against the Sharks. I think they keep enough balls out of the net through that series that they're able to capitalize on quick breaks and getting down the field in a hurry and um, catching the Sharks just overcommitted on offense. I know they kind of stack up on offense and really try to force the ball in the net and just try to kind of overpower you on offense. And I feel like Deadeye's defense is just it's strong enough that I think they're going to be able to get some fast breaks and steal a few games in the series. And I think they end up coming out 3-2 for the win for the Deadeyes. And then, of course, we already talked about the Thunder Aces game tonight. I got it as a 3-1. I think Aces maybe take one early, and then I think Thunder wraps up the series after that once they get settled in.
All right. Looks like I believe it is going to be your turn next, Blue, since you put yourself right next to Bootstrap. So, do you want to walk us through your predictions really quick? It looks like you have a lot of Game 5, so I'm pretty interested to
So
hear what you have
I'm
to
the
say.
guy for Game 5s.
All right, all right.
Everybody
You want to see a lot
knows.
of Champions Field this weekend, I see.
Always, dude. That's what we live for. Um, I have Seattle, like as you guys can see, I have Seattle Orbit winning 3-2. I don't know a lot about Calgary. Like this, I didn't really get to watch a lot of their games itself, but I have confidence in the Orbit to come out on top of this one. For the Minnesota Hunters, I wrote that one backwards. There we
I was going to ask you about that
it's
one, Blue.
It's a 0-3. Like I said, we don't know if they'll be able to play or not, and even if they do, it's just kind of going to be a brand new team. Haven't seen a lot of what they can do, but I'm pretty sure Halos have the advantage in this one.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to Toronto Ice and the Vipers, same thing with Vipers for me. I haven't seen a lot of their games. Not that I'm not interested in them or anything like that. It's just haven't had the time to watch them or anything like that. But I know most of the players on Toronto Ice, and I know what they're made of. So betting on them to come out on this one. Boston Revolt and the Miami Thrashers. I know the Thrashers all too well, sadly, but I have them winning 3-2. Boston Revolt, they're a decent team, but I think Thrashers will pull that one out. But with Deadeyes and Sharks, same thing. I know everybody on both teams, but I think the Deadeyes are just gonna have that
Easy time.
I wouldn't say the chemistry, but because Sharks have the chemistry as well. But I just think that Deadeye has a more aggressive offense than they would. And I think their defense is just a little too solid for them to get past.
Yeah, I get you.
New York Thunder, Los Angeles Aces. I'm sorry, Aces, but I got the Thunder kicking some ass on this one.
Well, apparently, Rebel just said that Thunder took Game 1, and I believe Major Tyler is streaming the game.
Yeah.
So he put his link in self-promotion. So if any of you guys are watching, you want to watch that too, pull it up on a second screen or a second tab. Because Rebel just said they took Game 1 6-1. So looking about how we expected so far. All right. Octo, let's go through yours, unless you have kind of the same thing that everyone else has been saying.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. For Blaze and Orbit, Blaze does have a very strong roster, but I'm looking at Orbit and Blaze to put on quite a show at the midseason tournament, seeing in the theoretical situation that they both make it. So I feel like this is like a battle of like some of the top teams, like throwing in, you know, the Ice and the Thrashers and like the Vipers in there as well. Like, but at this current point in time, like, yes, Blaze did make some new pickups. They picked up Miski, I think, and he's been a very, very strong addition to the roster. And I think Cosmic Dex and Wavy have made some pretty good showings. But at the end of the day, I can't. I'm a big Fly Parker fan. I'm not gonna lie. I'm putting my trust into the Englishman to take the win for the Orbit. So I got
You
the
would
Orbit
be a
taking
Fly
it.
Parker fan.
You really are a Fly Parker. He's actually a Fly Parker simp. But okay, for the record, I know someone was saying that we're underrating Blaze, but I am the only one who picked the Blaze to win. So I'm just saying. And I know
Hey, dude,
Cass
I
was
had
talking
a close
about.
game 5. Okay.
Yeah, I think we all agree that game is going to be pretty close. And in terms, Cass said that him and D-Wolf are coming in hot this week, so I'm ready to see it, man, because I think that game's going to be pretty close too. But we're pretty split on that one as well. So I guess let's all go through, and if we picked one match to watch this week, which one do we think it would be? For me, I would probably say Deadeye Sharks, I think is going to be the game.
I agree with that one.
Also agree.
I think
Honorable
it's-
mention though. Toronto and Vipers, I think, is a good honorable mention for a good game to watch.
So the 3 games I would pick are Toronto, and Vipers, Boston Revolt, and the Thrashers, and then Dallas
Yeah.
Horizon, Separate Sharks.
All right, what about you, Bootstrap?
Yeah, I think I'm going Toronto Ice Vipers is my number one pick, and then I think Deadeye Sharks is a close second because I think both of
Yeah.
those games, both sides either have a lot to prove as far as what they can become, or they have a lot to prove to show that they are where they're supposed to be.
Mhm.
And so I think both of those games have a lot riding on them, where we could really see some players kind of go out there and put it on the field and try to show out.
Yeah, the only thing, I mean, I don't think this will happen, but I'm slightly concerned that like the Ice and the Thrashers, they don't really have anything to play for since they're like locked in. I'm a little concerned that they might slack off this weekend. But I don't know.
I mean,
I think
they're playing for like seeding and stuff, and like the higher
Yeah.
seeding you get, the
like I said, I don't think they would slack off this
No,
weekend,
I
but
doubt
I like because the only thing I'm concerned about for the Blaze is that they have to play Surte this week, so they can't even play their full roster. So
Oh, that's
the
true.
only thing I'm a little concerned about. But that's just my 2 cents.
Unless they say fuck it and just go with the show.
I mean, if they don't play Surte, I mean they won't make it into the tournament anyway, so that would just be really unfortunate, especially if they do win. So I think that would be really not smart of them to do. But I mean, hey,
Some
who
people are
knows,
just not
man?
smart, man.
Hey, we'll see, man. I can't control anything. Sometimes unexpected stuff happens. We just got to roll with it. So now that we're done with predictions, I guess we can try and go through some questions that chat has for us or that people posted in the MPC Overtime Q&A channel. It looks like really I know Miski was asking about rivalry stuff, so I'll kind of tell him the same thing I told him earlier. I think trying to create artificial tension between teams doesn't really work. And in reality, I think it just causes a lot more like unnecessary conflict. If 2 teams, like especially like after the midseason tournament, right? Like say 2 teams are really close and the grand finals it goes to a best of 7, right? Maybe after that we could say that those teams have a rivalry, especially if they haven't played yet beforehand. So something like that, but that's all I can really see.
Let's see. Last season, the rivalry was between Deadeyes and the Eye.
True. Yeah, like they kind of just form naturally between teams. Like the quote unquote location teams, like the location of the rivalries might not make sense, but you know, I think it's better for just to let them form naturally. Who do I think is going to win the whole season based on games? That's pretty tough.
Yeah, that is hard to say. Damn, I gotta like take a look back. Say we were going into like nationals with the current like standings we have now. That's what I'm going off of here.
I think it'd be Ice Halo's final.
After last season, I chose not to believe in anything I think anymore.
Yeah, I think we'd have a much better idea like after the midseason tournament, but like right now it's a little too hard to say, I think. Just because the weeks have been so volatile lately, we haven't really gotten a good read on like the truly dominant teams. Because like teams we expect to win just sometimes don't, and then crazy stuff can happen, and there's just too much unpredictability.
What's the Halos record? Right?
They are 3-2 right now.
3-2.
They have a 60% win percentage.
What are the 2 games they lost?
They lost
last week.
They lost against Thunder, and they also lost against Thrashers week 2.
Okay, so I myself I think that the Sharks are going to not the Sharks, the fucking the Thunder is going to be one of the top teams in that. Second pick, just depending on if they can pick it up. If they do pick it up, it would be Halos, but like I said, that's if they start picking everything up.
Well, I do think at least in going into the midseason tournament, I think the Halos are in a good spot. I think if they can finish off this Hunters match pretty solidly, then they won't really have to worry about much going in. They'll get the best possible seeding they can get at this point. Because basically at this point, if you're a team, like, I don't know, like we said, we don't know all the logistics of what you need to get into the tournament and stuff like that. But the best thing you can hope for is that you 3-0. Like, that's literally all we can tell you is that just
essentially
try and 3-0 and then just see what happens from there, because all of our stats and our reference points take it from there. And they can do the math for us. That's why we have this giant sheet. But it'll give us a much clearer picture after this week's games. But apparently, Rebel just said Game 2 goes to Thunder 4-1.
Yep.
So very interesting. Thank you for the updates, Rebel. I appreciate it. So I guess really the only thing now is does chat have any more questions for us? Because we didn't really get that many questions from
not
OT
really.
Q&A channel. It's kind of sad. While we wait for questions, though, I want to talk about the Church of Auto. So, as you guys know, this episode was called "Give Auto Deserved a Chance." I gave him his own special role and everything. It was great. And I shout out to the guy. I know a lot of people will vouch for him. He needs to get picked up by a team, so it's gonna be. I think I know he's gonna get picked up to a team. It's just the question is which team is gonna pick him up. So that'll be interesting to follow throughout the next week or so. But we'll just have to wait and see. I think the really interesting question is what's going to happen to all these bubble teams, the ones that are hovering from like 8 to like 10. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with them. But, you know, we will see. We will see. All right, so I believe if we don't have any more questions from chat, I believe that's going to be it for us for this episode, unfortunately. So first of all, Blue, thanks for coming on last second. Always appreciate it.
Oh, good.
Bootstrap, thank you so much for taking time to come onto the show. We appreciate it as always.
No problem. Much obliged.
Yes, sir. And if you guys don't know, Bootstrap the lad is starting a league. He's starting a league of his own. So I might finally get to play in a Rocket League and not just run one. So that is exciting. And as always, we are wishing you the best of luck.
Look forward to seeing y'all.
Yeah, we are always wishing you the best of luck with that as well.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Octo, do you have any final words? Any thoughts? Anything like that?
No.
Understandable. Good talk.
Read the rule book.
Yes, read the rule book. Please. This actually, especially at the end of this week, please read the rule book. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm going to put out a huge announcement talking about everything I talked about at the beginning of the show. If you weren't here, it'll be a big summary of what I talked about. Also, Octo, if you can, I don't know if you can host Major Tyler.
I'll see. Give me a sec. I know I saw his
Twitch and self promo.
Yeah, I did see that.
So we'll try to host him because he's streaming their match right now. If it's not over by the time we get him there. But we just wanted to say thank you guys so much. Remember, asking about overtime will not get you onto overtime. I'm sorry, Atlas, but you asked too much, so I apologize. But we gotta stick true to our guns there.
Right now, it's game 3, 0-1.
All right.
Thunder is down right now.
All right. So we're gonna try and host them
All
as
right.
soon as we can.
I got it.
Thank
Ready
you
to
guys.
go.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bootstrap again. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man. And we will have this episode up on Spotify as soon as we can get it up there. Until next time, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Starting a raid on Major Tyler's channel, so you don't gotta go anywhere. You
Go,
just
go.
sit back. We are going.
Read the
Go, go,
rule
go.
book.
Yes. Go, go, go.
It's currently 1-1.
I gotta wait 5 seconds to raid.
Go, go, go. 3, 2, 1. Go, 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 go. Thanks, everyone.
Adios.